If you were to just casually look around at the people in your life, your friends, your colleagues, people you just pass on the street.
Right? Just everyday people.
Yeah, most of us look like we're doing fine. We are walking around, grabbing our morning coffee, answering, a barrage of emails.
Smiling at our kids as we drop them off at school.
Exactly. But if you could somehow put on a pair of x-ray glasses that showed psychological weight instead of bones, you would probably see almost everyone just buckling under this immense invisible pressure.
Oh, without a doubt. It's a profound, silent burden.
And it's a burden we all carry when we care deeply for other people. So today, we are dismantling that burden. We are taking a deep dive into an excerpt from a piece titled The Invisible Architecture of Trust.
Which is such a fascinating text.
It really is. We're going to unpack a radical shift in perspective, basically a way to love fiercely without the crushing weight of anxiety. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because reading through this analysis, I was immediately struck by how this isn't just like an abstract philosophical exercise.
No, not at all. It hits very close to home.
Yeah, this is about the daily, grinding, exhausting reality of loving other human beings and feeling entirely responsible for them.
That daily reality is exactly where this becomes so relevant. What we are really exploring today is a universally relatable diagnosis of human suffering.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter who you are, right?
Exactly. Regardless of your background, your career, or the specific makeup of your family, if you have ever loved someone and felt responsible for their well-being, you know the exact pain we are talking about.
You know it in your bones.
Right. And it's crucial to understand that we aren't talking about the acute pain of a sudden tragedy or, a specific external crisis.
So not like an emergency room situation?
No, no. We are looking at a chronic internal ache. The core argument here is incredibly perceptive. It suggests that a vast majority of the psychological pain we feel doesn't actually come from what is happening around us in the present moment.
Wait, really? Then where's it coming from?
It comes directly from our deeply ingrained belief that we are personally, individually responsible for holding everything together.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's the 3 in the morning thoughts.
Yes. The classic 3 a.m. panic.
You're lying there, staring at the ceiling. The house is perfectly quiet. Everyone is asleep and completely safe.
But your mind is just racing.
Racing. You're calculating the mortgage, worrying about your teenager's grades, wondering if your aging parents are okay.
Because you think it all falls on you.
Right. We carry this invisible weight, believing that we are the sole force sustaining our families. I mean, in the hustle of the day, you might not notice it as much.
Because you're too busy just doing the things.
Exactly. But in those quiet moments, that sense of responsibility just metastasizes into worry.
And that subtle shift from responsibility into fear is such a fascinating psychological mechanism. We start asking ourselves these terrifying hypothetical questions.
Projecting, like, way into the future.
Right? Projecting our anxiety decades ahead. Like, what will happen to them if we are no longer here? Will life treat them kindly?
Will they be financially secure?
Exactly. Now, what's fascinating here is that these thoughts are completely born from love.
Right. They're not bad thoughts.
No, they aren't malicious, and they aren't selfish in any traditional sense. They originate from a place of deep, genuine care. But human psychology has this flaw.
A pretty big flaw, honestly.
Seriously, it conflates hypervigilance with love. We subconsciously believe that if we just worry enough, our worry acts as a magical shield protecting our families.
Like our anxiety is literally keeping them safe.
Yes, and the result is that this beautiful, pure love becomes a source of immense emotional strain. It is simply, well, an unsustainable way to live.
It really is exhausting. When I try to visualize this psychological state, the image that immediately pops into my head is a building's architecture.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, you have those decorative columns, right? The ones that just look nice.
Sure, the aesthetic one.
Yeah, but then you have that one massive load-bearing pillar right in the center of the structure. The one that is literally holding up the entire roof.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
When you feel this kind of relentless responsibility, you feel like that pillar. You live in this state of constant low-grade terror that if you crack, if you splinter, or if you get sick,
The whole thing comes down.
the entire roof comes crashing down on the people you love. You convince yourself that you have to be unbreakable because everything rests on your shoulders.
That is a heavy, heavy burden to carry.
It is. So for the listener who is just trying to be a good parent, a supportive friend or a reliable partner, Is the text suggesting that this deep sense of care is actually a flaw?
That's a great question.
Like, should we be trying to detach and just care less?
That is the natural fear whenever we talk about letting go of worry. But it requires a very careful distinction here. The care itself is absolutely not the flaw,
Okay, that's a relief.
right? The love, the desire to protect, the urge to provide, those are beautiful, essential human qualities. The source of the suffering is not the love.
Then what is it?
It is the illusion of sole responsibility. It's the imagined isolation. Let's look at your load-bearing pillar analogy for a second.
Yeah, let's do it.
When you think you are the solitary pillar, you're completely ignoring the rest of the architecture. You're ignoring the foundation, the crossbeams, the walls.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you think you're the only thing holding it up.
Exactly. The strain doesn't come from the fact that you love your family. The strain comes from the ego-driven, deeply ingrained belief that your love and your individual effort are the only things keeping them safe in a hostile universe.
That makes so much sense. The suffering is rooted in the isolation.
Absolutely.
It's that feeling of being entirely alone in the task of keeping your loved ones afloat, like you are fighting against the current of the entire world.
Which is an unwinnable fight, by the way.
Right. Which brings us to the real turning point in our deep dive today. Because we aren't just diagnosing this heavy, invisible weight, we're actually looking at the cure.
And it's a profound one.
It is. There is a fundamental paradigm shift that begins to dissolve this burden once you actually see it. It asks us to completely redefine where our efforts and our care actually come from.
This is where the perspective completely flips. We have this deeply conditioned habit of claiming ownership over the good that we do.
What do you mean by claiming ownership?
Well, we look at our lives and say, look at my effort, look at my provision, look at how much care I generated today.
Oh, I see. Patting ourselves on the back, kinda.
Yes, we view ourselves as the origin point of all this goodness. But the radical shift we are exploring suggests that life is not actually dependent on us in the way we imagine it is.
Okay, that is a big statement.
It is. What
Yeah.
we view as our personal effort is actually life, or, a broader intelligence, nature, whatever you want to call it, expressing itself through us.
Through us, not
No,
from us.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because if the care, the support, and the love we give flow through us, rather than originating solely from us, that changes the entire physics of how we operate day to day.
It changes everything.
Let me try out another analogy here, just to see if we can ground this.
Yeah,
I was thinking about it like the difference between a generator and a conduit.
well, I like that.
When you are operating under that heavy, invisible weight of sole responsibility, when you think you're the lone pillar, you are acting like a generator.
And generators are loud and exhausting.
Exactly. A generator has to constantly manufacture and supply all its own electricity. It runs on a finite amount of fuel. It constantly needs maintenance. And if you demand too much power from it,
It eventually overheats and burns out.
it burns out. And as parents or partners, we often feel like we have to generate every ounce of safety, love, and money from our own finite, exhausting reserves.
That captures the exhaustion perfectly. When you live as a generator, burnout isn't just a possibility. I mean, it is a mathematical certainty because your fuel is finite.
Right. But the alternative perspective is that we aren't generators at all.
No, we are.
We are simply the conduit. We are the wire that the electricity flows through. We don't have to manufacture the power from scratch.
You just have to let it flow.
Yeah, we just have to be a clear channel, allowing the power to pass through us to light up the room. We provide the care, but we don't have to carry the existential weight of, creating the universe's supply of it.
Let's push that analogy even further because it perfectly explains the mechanics of letting go. A wire is absolutely essential for the light to turn on in that specific room.
Right, without the wire, the room is dark.
Exactly. You are still a vital participant. But the wire doesn't panic about where the electricity is coming from. It doesn't stress about running out of fuel.
It just sits there and does its job.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the exact same life force, the same electricity expressing care through you, is simultaneously active everywhere else.
Oh, so it's not just my wire.
No, it doesn't just exist inside your specific wire. It is a massive, interconnected grid. That life force is active in other people, it is active in unseen circumstances, and it's active in the unfolding of events that are completely beyond your control.
So you aren't an isolated generator out in the wilderness. You're just one localized part of a massive, self-sustaining power grid.
And realizing that the broader grid exists is what allows you to stop worrying about your personal fuel reserves running out.
That is such a relief to hear.
It is. You begin to understand that life is an intelligent process that knows exactly how to sustain itself. You are just one of the beautiful, essential ways it is choosing to do that in your family's life right now.
Okay, wait. I struggle with this part, and I know the listener is probably feeling a bit of friction right now, too.
That's totally fair. What's the friction?
Because if we are just conduits, right? If the electricity is everywhere and life will sustain itself, we have to face the ultimate terrifying question.
The absence question.
Yes. What happens to our loved ones when we are no longer here? What happens when our specific wire is removed from the circuit entirely?
Right.
Doesn't this concept feel incredibly cold? Telling a mother or a father, hey, don't worry, if you die, someone else will just step in and life will keep flowing to your kids.
It sounds harsh when you phrase it like that.
It strips away the specialness of our individual love. We want to be indispensable. We want to be the hero of our family's story.
It is entirely natural to bristle at that. The human ego absolutely hates the idea of not being the center of the universe.
Yeah, the ego does not like being replaceable.
No, it doesn't. The
Yeah.
ego conflates being essential for survival with being loved. But let's look at the reality of what happens when we demand to be indispensable.
Okay, what happens?
We end up treating our families like hostages to our own effort. We create a dynamic where we believe they will literally perish without us.
Oh, ouch. That's a little too accurate.
It is. But this understanding of life as a continuous flow doesn't bring coldness or detachment. It actually brings a profound sense of relief.
How so?
Well, it does not remove your love or your deeply unique, irreplaceable personality or your specific expression of care. No one will ever love your kids exactly the way you do.
Right. You are still you.
Exactly. But what this shift does is free your love from the paralyzing grip of fear.
So it separates the love from the existential dread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about how much of our parenting or our relationships is driven by sheer anxiety about the future.
Oh, a huge amount.
We overparent, we micromanage, we lie awake at night because we think we are the sole architects of their survival.
Trying to control every variable.
Right. When we let go of the idea that we are the only source of their safety, we aren't loving them less. We're actually loving them much better in the present moment.
Because we aren't terrified all the time.
Yes, because we aren't suffocating under the pressure of having to secure their entire future alone. The reassurance here is that because this life force is active everywhere, life does not stop or collapse just because one expression of it changes form.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Just as you have been a channel of provision for your loved ones, other channels, other people, and other situations will arise to continue that flow when you are no longer physically present.
I see the distinction now. So you still show up, you still meet your responsibilities,
Absolutely.
you still cook dinner, you pay the mortgage, and you help with homework. You don't just like walk away, sit on a mountaintop and say, well, the universe will provide. Good luck making dinner, kids.
Right. It's tempting to think of surrender as passivity, but that is a dangerous misinterpretation.
Okay, unpack that. Passivity versus surrender.
Letting go of the illusion of control does not equate to giving up on your responsibilities. To relieve yourself from the imagined burden of holding the world together is not to become indifferent.
So what is it then?
It is about moving from a state of resistance into a state of alignment.
Alignment. Okay, this makes me think of the Tuesday morning school drop-off.
A classic stressful scenario.
The ultimate stress. You are rushing, someone forgot their lunch, traffic is terrible, and you are gripping the steering wheel so tight your knuckles are white.
Just white-knuckling through the morning.
Exactly. If you're operating as the load-bearing pillar, you are furious, anxious, and terrified that this chaotic morning is going to ruin your child's entire day.
Which will ruin their grades, which will ruin their future.
It spirals so fast, you feel personally responsible for forcing the universe to make the morning go smoothly. But if you are in the state of alignment you're talking about, what changes? Because you are still driving the car. You still have to get them to school.
Right. So this raises an important question. How do we actually practice this in the mundane moments of life?
Yeah, how does it look on a Tuesday morning?
Alignment is recognizing that in every moment, within every space and circumstance, even a chaotic Tuesday morning commute life is already at work.
Even in the traffic jam.
Even then,
Yeah.
when you act from trust rather than anxiety,
Yeah.
you do the necessary footwork, but you detach from trying to force the outcome.
Okay, so in the car, what do I do?
You take a breath. You accept that traffic is traffic. You realize that your child forgetting their lunch is just a moment of friction.
It's not a catastrophe.
Right. It's not an indictment of your parenting or a disaster for their future.
Yeah.
You do your part, you drive safely, you offer a comforting word, but you stop trying to control the emotional weather of the entire situation.
You literally stop white-knuckling the steering wheel.
Exactly.
You catch yourself in the act of trying to control the uncontrollable, and you cognitively reframe it. Like when a teenager first gets their driver's license and takes the car out at night.
Oh, that's a terrifying milestone for any parent.
Right. If you think you are the sole source of their safety, you will sit by the window for 3 hours, flooded with cortisol, tracking their phone.
Believing that your active worrying is somehow keeping their car on the road.
Yes. Like if I stop worrying, they'll crash.
And what does that worry actually accomplish? It just destroys your own peace.
So how does trust change that night?
Trusting the flow means acknowledging that you did your part. You taught them how to drive, you set the curfew, you established the rules. That was your role as the conduit.
The footwork.
Exactly. Once they pull out of the driveway, they are in the broader flow of life. You trust that what is beyond your capacity to control will be handled.
Wow. That is a huge letting go.
It is, but the outcome of this cognitive surrender is profoundly beautiful. When you stop trying to drive the entire universe, worry softens. The immense pressure lifts.
And you can actually breathe.
Yes, a quiet peace begins to settle within you. You transition from the exhausting, loud vibration of the generator to the silent, efficient ease of the conduit.
It fundamentally changes the texture of your daily life. You go from a state of constant low-grade panic to a state of ease. There is a deeply moving concept that encapsulates this perfectly.
What's that?
It's the realization that you are not carrying life. Life is carrying you, even as it expresses itself through you.
That inversion is the whole secret.
It really is. It completely flips the load-bearing pillar analogy upside down. You aren't the pillar holding up the roof, terrified of cracking.
Not at all.
You are just one part of the structure, and the massive, unshakable foundation of life itself is holding you up right alongside everyone you love.
Beautifully said.
It's been such a profound journey unpacking this today. We started by looking at that crushing invisible weight, that chronic psychological ache of feeling like we are individually responsible for keeping our entire world intact.
Which so many of us struggle with daily.
We explored the late-night anxieties and the ego-driven beliefs that come from operating like an isolated generator, and then we walked through this radical yet incredibly practical paradigm shift.
The shift from generator to conduit.
Right. The realization that we are simply conduits on a much larger grid. The understanding that life is a vast, interconnected flow that expresses care through us, but is also active everywhere else.
Ready and able to support our loved ones, even when we are entirely out of the picture.
Exactly. So to you listening right now, I would encourage you to just take a moment today and notice where you might be white-knuckling your own life.
We all have those areas.
We do. Notice where you are feeling that invisible weight, whether it's at work, with your kids, or in your relationships. Catch yourself in that moment and just see what it feels like to take a deep breath, loosen your physical grip, and lean back into the flow.
And as you reflect on where you might be gripping too tightly, consider this one final thought.
Yeah, what's that?
We spend so much of our lives frantically trying to build rigid, foolproof safety nets for our families. Financial nets, emotional nets, logistical nets.
All to protect them against our eventual absence.
Exactly, or just the unpredictable nature of the world. But if life is indeed a powerful flow that will inevitably move through other channels to care for our loved ones when we are gone, perhaps our greatest legacy isn't the physical safety nets we desperately try to leave behind.
That's a powerful idea.
Perhaps our greatest legacy is simply teaching them, through our own daily, observable example of living with a lighter heart, how to trust that very same flow of life themselves.
Because if you can teach the people you love to stop acting like the load-bearing pillar in their own lives, well, that's the kind of freedom that outlasts us all. Until next time, keep diving deep.